Hey, I'm John, and I've got to say, I really love being a product owner. A lot of people ask me, John, how are your team's meetings so productive? And the secret? Well, it's not magic. It's all about preparation. So today, I'm going to pull back the curtain and walk you through my week, showing you exactly how I design my meetings for success. All right, let's just kick things off with a number that should honestly make you cringe. 23 hours. Yep, you heard that right. According to the Harvard Business Review, that's the average time people like us spend in meetings every single week. That's more than half your work week just gone. Just talking about the work. My team, we don't do that. And you know what? That lost time, it has a very, very real price tag. All those interruptions from meetings that weren't planned well, that creates a ton of context switching. And it can cost a company something like $60,000 per developer every single year. It's like this massive hidden tax on your team's potential. And on my team, we refuse to pay that tax. So how do we do it, right? How do we actually escape this endless maze of meetings and get to that amazing state of deep, focused work we all crave? Flow? Well, for us, it all comes down to a really clear philosophy. Here it is. I am a firm believer that great meetings don't just happen by accident. Nope. They are designed. And that's exactly what we're going to break down today. My system for designing meetings that create clarity instead of just more chaos. Okay, so our story kicks off on a Monday morning. I'm gearing up for one of our most important meetings of the week, the Three Amigos session. That's me, my lead developer Sarah, and our QA engineer Marcus. This meeting is where we lay the entire foundation for a new feature. And believe me, getting this one right is absolutely critical. So my whole process for this, it really boils down to just 4 steps. It's a simple, repeatable system I use every single time to make sure this small, strategic meeting has a massive impact. Let's walk through each one. Everything, and I mean everything, starts with context. I go out and gather every piece of information I can get my hands on. Stakeholder feedback, user pain points, the business goals, and I boil it all down into a super concise summary. The result of all that work, I never, ever walk in with a vague idea. I hand my team a clearly defined problem that's ready to be solved. There's actually a scientific reason why this first step is so incredibly powerful. What I'm doing is actively reducing something called extraneous cognitive load. It's a fancy term for all that unnecessary mental static you get from disorganized information. By doing this prep work for them, I'm literally freeing up my team's brain power so they can focus on what really matters, coming up with the best possible solution. All right, next up, I take all that context and I translate it into a visual format. I'm not just going to email a boring document. No way. I build out a shared collaborative space in Miro. This is the canvas where the real work is going to happen. And this is so important because it comes from really understanding my team. I know that Sarah, my developer, she thinks in architecture diagrams, but Marcus, my QA guy, he thinks in test scenarios and user flows. A visual format lets them both jump into the problem in the way that makes the most sense to them. And you know what that means? We get aligned so much faster. Okay, step 3 is all about empathy. I literally try to put myself in Sarah's and Marcus's shoes. I think through their unique perspectives and try to anticipate the questions they're going to ask. Now, I don't need to have all the answers, that's what the meeting's for, but just being prepared for their concerns shows that I respect their expertise. This little bit of foresight completely transforms the meeting from being reactive to being proactive.
And the final step? It's so simple, but it is absolutely crucial. I send out a clear agenda with a link to all the prep materials a full 24 hours in advance. It's a small act, but it's a huge sign of respect. It means everyone shows up prepared and ready to contribute from the very first minute. The heavy lifting is already done before we even sit down.
All right, let's fast forward to Act 2 and see how this all connects. It's Wednesday now, and I'm getting ready for our weekly 90-minute backlog refinement session. This one's with the entire engineering team. This is where the real nitty-gritty planning happens. So you see, the output from Monday's Three Amigos meeting becomes the direct input for this one. Those clear, well-scoped epics that Sarah, Marcus, and I defined, they're now ready to be broken down even further. So my job is to do the first pass, to create some draft user stories that the team can look at and react to. Let me give you a really concrete example. I'll take a single epic, let's say customer self-service password reset, and I'll start breaking it down into a few distinct story candidates. See how each one of these represents a clear piece of value from a specific user's point of view? I'm not locking these in stone, I'm just teeing them up so we can have a really productive discussion. And this is the key transformation, right here. Because I've done all this prep work, our 90-minute refinement meeting isn't some chaotic free-for-all brainstorming session. It becomes a focused workshop. The team's job is simply to clarify the details, collaborate on the best approach, and then commit to the work. It completely changes the entire dynamic of the room. So, what's the big payoff for all this prep? What's the point? Well, it's not just about having more efficient meetings. What we're really doing here is building the foundation for something way more valuable, a truly high-performing team. It all comes down to building psychological safety. It's a concept that was defined by researcher Amy Edmondson and famously validated by Google's Project Aristotle. And all it really means is creating a shared belief that the team is a safe place for taking risks, that you won't get punished for speaking up, for asking a tough question, or for making a mistake. And get this, it is the single biggest predictor of high-performing teams, period. And you can really see the impact of this during our sprint retrospectives. When you have that safe environment, the conversation is honest, people aren't afraid to talk, the format is engaging, and we always walk away with real, actionable improvements. Without that safety, the retro just evolves into this low-energy complaint session where nobody is willing to bring up the real issues. And that, right there, brings us to the most important takeaway. All this detailed preparation, it isn't just some productivity hack. It's an act of leadership. It's a system that's designed from the ground up to show respect for my team's time and their mental energy. It makes them feel prepared, and it empowers them to be vulnerable, to be creative, and ultimately to be incredibly effective. So, how can you start applying this yourself? It really boils down to 3 key actions. First, actively work to reduce your team's cognitive load. Give them clear context and visuals. Second, fiercely protect their focus time. Use async updates when you can, and always respect the meeting time box. And third, foster that psychological safety by framing work as a learning problem, not just an execution problem. So I'll leave you with this one final thought. Take a look at your own calendar for this coming week. What is the one meeting, just one, that you can prepare for more intentionally? The one meeting you can design to reduce your team's cognitive load, and in doing so, maybe, just maybe, unlock their true potential.